Game here in the middle division. About to bring you Underscore versus Mahakali. Should be a pretty good matchup. Underscore here at the top of the division thus far, 3-0. Going to be looking to extend that streak of undefeatedness, while Mahakali are going to be looking to turn things around here so far in this division. To bring you the action today, I am Dr. Shrew, joined by Zots and Soulslaw on the production. How you feeling heading into this one?
I'm really pumped to watch this one. Obviously, there's a difference in the standings. Underscore are the big favourites. I will say that looking at Mahakali's roster, I'm a little bit surprised they're this low, and I do think this game could be quite interesting. Could go either way. I also play this division, so I am keeping an eye on both these teams and scouting them out because I've not played against either of them, and again, I just think there's such strong drafts, such strong rosters, and of course, we're in the new season as well. People are still finding their feet in terms of the season of souls. It's all up in the air, and it should be very, very exciting.
Yeah, lots to learn for you and for everybody watching to see how these teams are going to play in this new season. We might as well head into picks and bans and find out exactly what these teams have decided to prioritize for this new meta, this new everything that's changed with 10.6. One thing that hasn't changed though is the Marticarous ban. We see also often Underscore taking that one away, but Mahakali take away that Ravana that we've seen so much prioritization towards in both the solo and jungle.
Yeah, and it looks like solo will be the main priority, and I do think, especially at this level, that makes a lot of sense because at the moment it feels like the biggest change in terms of items, in terms of roles, was that solo now can absolutely run a game if you're not careful. It's all about wave pressure, it's all about kill pressure, and being able to use your big level lead to rotate into other lanes because at the moment, mids, ADCs, they take so long to get online, and if you're not careful, a rampaging solo laner can end your game pretty quickly. So I like getting rid of this Raven, this King Arthur. The rest seems pretty standard in terms of the bans. A
Are
couple of
you
junglers gone
ready for
away.
me?
Gonna be the Achilles top pick. Not too surprising. We've seen Achilles rise up rapidly over the past week or so.
Yeah, we really have. And I mean, you were just talking about the solo lane prioritization, and it's exactly what Underscore opt to go for. The changes to make his execute threshold up to 35%, as well as just Bluestone being good again, and the lane pressure that he can bring. A good first overall pick for Underscore. But Mahakali are going to answer back with a Kali for their jungle pick.
These
And they're
immortals
hovering
need
the
to be taught
Sun
a
Wukong,
lesson.
and they will lock it in. How do you feel about a Sun Wukong into the Achilles?
I think it's okay. You clear better, I would say. You also build Bluestone much better than Achilles. I think Achilles is 50-50 over what star item he wants to build.
Look out
But Sun
below!
Wukong, you know what you're going to go. You're going to have that early clear. You're going to be able to farm very, very well. And again, it's all about these rotations. How can you use what should hopefully be, I would say, a lead from that solo lane? I think Achilles is a little bit slower. I do like the
Rise
matchup.
above the
The
rest.
Kali as well has shot up the rankings. I think generally in jungle, we're seeing slightly less of these sort of ability-based junglers. They're still there, like this Ratatoska, but I think the Kali can obviously, when it
I
comes
will
to these
end
late game
this
team
fight.
fights, can just stomp and wreck your entire backline. At the moment, that is pretty easy to do. So I like the draft so far from both teams, actually.
Yeah, we see the top three for both squads now. It's Ratatosker followed by the Discordia for Underscore, while the Mahakali round out their top three with a Hachiman. And I gotta say, this is a scary top three from Mahakali for me. The Sun Wukong you already mentioned, the pressure that he can bring and the rotational power, and the Kali with her just like, ability to chainsaw auto you down. But Hachiman, even with the nerfs in 10.6, still feels almost impossible to box in that lane. Has got incredible poke, and the damage so far coming out of this Chaos side team is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Hatchman kind of does everything, right? It does everything in lane. I think if you're not careful with the poke and the clear that Hachi has, he can start stripping away, the gold buffs and things like that if you're not careful. Come late game, I think the damage output is still good enough to get by. But as you say, it's pretty scary at the moment. And I think if you're Underscore looking on the other side, you've got an Achilles, you've got a Ratatoska. It's quite where are you getting your picks so far? That would be the worry for me, because Kali obviously has that vulnerability with the destruction. Sun Wukong, very, very safe. Hachiman as well. Where are you going to get these picks? And I suppose you really are playing around this Achilles execute. So perhaps as we go into the second phase for underscore, you're looking for maybe a nice bit of setup, easy setup, just to lock someone down, because that's where you're going to find these wins. So we'll see what we get, mostly coming out of the support column here.
Yeah, lots of looks at the support as well in that second phase of bans. The Nox and the Athena taken away, while on the other side, underscore get rid of the Agni and the Kuzenbo, not wanting to deal with either of those two picks. You know, this Discordia pick coming out of mid lane for underscore has a decent amount of setup as well. You have the Strife that can really do quite a bit. The Golden Apple kind of, you know, can impact a team fight and spread that damage around, as well as just disorientate them a little bit. So you have a little bit of setup through the mid lane, but I do agree that underscore needs to look for a little bit more from their squad to try and see what they can do against what could be a very scary draft coming out of Mahakali. And the Scylla lock-in is interesting. What do you think the Scylla brings here from Mahakali?
I think it's kind of more of the same. It's incredibly difficult to kill this backline and this front line. I do think if you're looking at their draft, their early game is a little bit lacking, certainly in that mid lane. So that's where you're looking to gain an advantage if you're underscore. They are hovering the Ola on here. Again, you're not too concerned about pressure to Hachi, so I'm more looking at the support here. Something like Horus is still available. Just get some pressure and get some kill potential, I think, in that mid 3v3. That's what I'd be looking at here.
Well, again, you asked for setup, even not out of the support role. You know, Sanctified
Yeah.
Field, that's some good setup. That is hard to deal with. Olorun sometimes can feel a little bit like an alt bot, but you don't necessarily mind when the alt is that good. Xing Qian has quite a bit of setup as well. There's a lot of potential for beads burning on this underscore team, which could put pressure on this safe backline that you mentioned for Mahakali.
Yeah, actually, I don't mind the Xing-Chan as long as there's a blink available. Preferably quite early, I would say, on the Xing-Chan support. You're right, though, about the Sanctified Fields. I think it's almost your best setup, and you think about into Kali. She's not actually CC immune in that ult, so she's going to be a sitting duck in a way, although the Kali ult would be longer, I believe. Do you think that's correct? I think that's how that would work.
I think so. She would be invulnerable for longer.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. I also think Xing-Chan has to go the blink and look for the blink hooks. You're not likely to get, you know, a big whirlwind of rage and steal off, especially into this team again. You're more having to use it for peel, and unfortunately, Kali and Sun Wukong, they kind of don't care about getting knocked up, of course, by this Xing-Chan. So that does concern me a little bit. They're using it more for setup, and I think there are better picks, personally. You know, I'm still looking at that Horus that they could have gone, has lots of single target CC to help engage the fights. But now, I think a lot of it is going to be on this Ratatoska to get a good dive onto the back line and hopefully try and get a pick. Because again, I just think this Mahakali team looks so safe. I don't see how you ever get a kill into this draft.
Yeah, especially with the Yamoja lock-in, which, by the way, getting Yamoja 10th overall in the draft should be criminal. I mean, that is crazy that was let through that deep. And the sustain and shielding that she's going to be able to give to this Mahakali squad, who are already so safe, just going to make it even harder, as you said. I think this is all going to come down to the initiation that's going to be able to come out of the Ratatosker and the Achilles. Now that we can see the full 5-man draft on both sides, I think I have a feeling of which answer you're going to give me. But do you think underscore have drafted enough to get the advantage here in game one? Or do you think Mahakali have put together a draft to try and upset the current top seed in the middle division?
I will say that if this game goes past 30 minutes, Mahakali just wins straight up. Before that, I really do think they have potential to snowball this game out of control. I think I will also say that you know, an Achilles execute is always going to be viable and relevant, no matter what stage of the game you're in. Ratatoska, mostly an early game focus god, but very strong at the moment. We will be looking at this jungler, I think, to keep underscore ahead. I don't think it's even about staying level. You have to get ahead with this kind of comp, because you can look to the other side again. If it goes late, Mahakali just win.
Yeah, gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. Definitely a bit of a timer gonna be there for underscore to hopefully be able to beat if you're a fan of them. Something we haven't talked about yet, as we hop into the game here for the first time and see what happens between these two squads. Is this Discordia passive, being able to give that extra damage to whoever has top damage on her team? If that goes towards, you know, Ted over there on the Achilles or Appletoast on the Ratatosker, it could help them just that little bit more to try and shift things in their favor here in the early game.
Yeah, it's a fair point actually, and it kind of lends itself towards that kind of snowbally style that I think underscore are going to have to bring here. You're obviously looking for it to go to Apatoast on this Rat Tosca. Again, I kind of like it. I'm glad you brought it up because it does make me think that actually it's gonna help you with that snowball even more because it's gonna be so important to get them off on the right start. It could also go to the solo lane, which again wouldn't be a bad thing because you're kind of looking to stall out a little bit there. Although again, having a fatal strike is always going to be potent. Look at this clear, by the way, from the duo lane of underscore. Something we don't really talk about much anymore, but this duo lane in particular, able to do all three at once. Is there really a difference? Probably not. And in fact, you see they're a little bit slower to lane at this point. But again, that's not too surprising. There's Umoja Hachi on the other side, and you're not really looking to fight into that much.
Yeah, not something that's gonna go the way of underscore here. At least in the early game, Umoja Hachi should just have the pressure over there for the moment. As we do see Mahakali get a bit aggressive, getting some more poke down with that heavenly banner. As the teams just kind of poke each other out and farm up here in the early game. It gives us a little bit of a second to look at some of the builds. Everything seems fairly standard for me, taking just a cursory look at it. We do see Bumbas coming out of Appletoast on the Ratatosker, which has seen quite the resurgence here on 10.6. Do you like this decision for him to go that direction?
Yeah, I think it's generally the best pickup now in jungle. Obviously, someone like Kali, you really want that early auto attack speed. And, oh, look at that! No, solo kill for Tedesco. That's massive.
First blood going the way of underscore, and as you said, going on to the Achilles, getting that advantage when you would assume most of the time the Sun Wukong
Wow.
would be the one to have the upper hand here in the early game. That's exactly what you want if you are Ted on this Achilles, to try and kickstart your early to mid game on this Achilles.
Really quite surprised. Achilles certainly swings at this stage of the game. The base damage is very high if you connect with that stun. I am surprised, and I think that's partly down to the difference in builds here. I think we're seeing Vidar go this Soul Eater build. Obviously, always very popular on Sun Wukong. I do think you don't need to go it anymore. Liner in a little bit of trouble, but should be able to hop out no problem. But yeah, I think Soul Eater isn't so necessary on the Sun Wukong anymore, and I think it might actually put you at a bit of a disadvantage because you look at the rest of your squad, and if you're underscore, you think, well, we're going to be building Yanti Hill anyway, and you're just kind of offering more counterplay into that Wukong. But again, Blakey very low in the mid lane. There's lots happening, and I'm talking too much, so I will switch it back to you. Just there's a lot of action.
Blink in under the tower, and Appletoast will get that kill. You said there was a lot of action, and there is indeed. It's the first kill for this Ratatosker. 2-0 so far for underscore, as that was a lot of damage coming out of Blakey under or towards big man on this Scylla, and then the good rotation out of the jungler, enough to get the job done there. And it doesn't look like Appletoast is done quite yet. Bird form though, safe enough for Vidar to get him out there.
Yeah, a little bit surprising once again, but this Scylla is going to be so slow. The wave clear is not good. You don't have a conduit gem or anything like that. So not too surprising that the Discordia is able to get a bit of an advantage there, and then just allows Aptos to clean up with a free blink through from behind the tier 1 tower. And there's nothing you can really do about that. You just gotta try and hope that this Ratatosker isn't coming to you, because there are plenty of other targets as well that I think Aptos could be looking at. But it's perfect so far for underscore. They've got a really quite a big lead for 4 minutes, and yeah, I think they're doing, as we said in the picks and bans, it's got to be early game, but there's an ult coming out.
I'm a monster off the mark, but the rat will land unable to find the knock up there either. It's two ults getting used to no avail there in the mid lane, but it looks like Big Man, even after spilling, not afraid to step up, was able to get some good turnaround damage onto Blakey there, and at least show that he's, he's not just going to sit back and farm until late game. He is going to step up and, play the video game.
Absolutely, and we're seeing a bit more of a scuffle here in the Geo lane. It's proper 2v2. It's a great Rivers Rebuke.
It is splits this fight, but the Sanctified Field comes out as well. Washing Machine throws some away, but it's not quick enough, as the Oleron will fall, though, but could see a turnaround kill, and we do. Apple Toast will get another kill added to his tally. Scylla has rotated as well, and there's lots of damage. Apple in a lot of trouble here on the rat, but a good stun will extend his life a little bit more. Lina will get credit for that kill. Golden Apple will land onto the Emoja, but not enough damage to do anything, and Lina is on the chase. Discordia of Blakey, though, safe enough to survive for the time being, but a bit of a back and forth fight there. Does at least net the first couple kills for Mahakali.
Yeah, so 2 for 1 in the end. Mullock does fall on this Hachiman, and that's only because Aptos was able to get in and get a good pick before eventually getting killed. And that all starts with a fantastic Rivers Rebuke from Panos. The Sanctified Fields in response was good, but Sasuke already dead at that stage. And luckily, Aptos was there to salvage that fight a little bit. But again, it's kind of as you'd expect. This is where the pressure is. Mahakali, however, they'll be happy with any kind of trades at this stage, because again, it's all about playing it slow for them.
Could be trouble for Ted on this Achilles. He fatal strikes, but unable to find the kill, but he's got the backup from his team, and Apple Toast blows him up. Vidar there goes up into the tree as well, trying to find somewhere to land on, and Wolf land on Lina. Not quite on the mark, and actually needs to dash away, dropping that kill. Meanwhile, though, the Xingqian will pick up one onto Panos to at least get something over there. But you gotta say, Tedesco on this Achilles is definitely feeling himself. He was puppy guarding the blue there to start that fight off, kicked off the rotations from both teams.
Yeah, and that didn't even get the execute thanks to a good heal from Panos, but it just didn't matter. The rotation power coming out, especially from this Ratatoska, who I think Aptos did well to bait out that Kali jump, but unfortunately missed the final swoop down from the tree. Unlucky not to get another kill there, but if they keep playing at this pace, they've already got a super solid 3.5k lead. They need to start turning these into objectives, of course, and I do think they have the comp to do that with this Oleron, especially, who I think is as good as any hunter at these early objectives, but Lina looking to shut him down.
Sanctified Field forced out. That's a long cooldown to make sure that he lives there. Sasuke not wanting to deal with what Lina can bring here at this point in the game. And as you can see, 110 seconds still on that cooldown now. So he's going to be a lot less safe for those next couple minutes. Yeah,
it's always a good trade to get that massive team fighting ultimate. Yeah, but I also would say it depends whether Underscore say, okay, we don't have the ultimate. We're just going to chill for the next 100 or so seconds now. Because, again, you're not looking to fight through this Oleron anyway. And, again, Lina, knowing about this, has actually rotated over. Still has the beads.
Blinks in, gets a good stun. The knockup is good, but the beads will try and get him out. But it doesn't look like it will be enough. Lina will get the kill onto Sasuke there. So he will end up falling after having to use that Sanctified Field just a couple moments ago.
And it's great recognition. It's always good play from a jungler when they burn a cooldown, walk into the jungle having got what you wanted, and then you just loop back around and come straight back for the return gank. It's so simple, it's so easy to do, but it's not something that people are always ready for. And as a result, they've got another kill onto the Oleron. This is going to make things much easier for Moloch, who, again, already has a lead on this Hachiman. That's pretty scary. And as we said, despite the very quick pace that's coming out from Underscore, Mahakali, they're not too concerned at this point. They're not particularly far down. They haven't lost any major objectives. There's obviously going to be potentially quite a big objective to secure in mid, 12 minutes time. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, very happy at the moment. They're just stalling this out as long as they can, keeping the ADC down. it's still very finely poised, and I wouldn't like to call either way because really you're just looking at sort of a lead in solo. That's your main point of pressure, but otherwise they go for another one here in the duo lane.
There are rotation in from Apple Toast and Xenophis, and we could see the
Love
washing
it.
machine throw back the Yamoja, and Suzuki will get credit for that kill on this Ola run, so at least getting something turned around back in their favor after all the pressure that they've been under. And you were mentioning, you know, how there's a timer here and it could be trouble for Discordia. Blakey will get the kill though. Good job being safe from the mid laner there and knowing that the jungler was on the way, and Apple Toast will get that rotation off. But Lina on this Kali might not want to give it up yet. Doesn't decide to jump under the tower. But this Kali is 2-0-1. We know what Kali can bring late into the game. Being this comfortable early has got to be scary if you're underscore.
Yeah, and we're really seeing these two very contrasting styles from both these junglers. Ooh, kill potential. Potentially. No!
Fatal strike just off the mark, and now it could be Tedesco in a lot of trouble.
Ooh,
Gets
I don't know
hit
about
by
that.
the Tiger Stun. Goes up into the Somersault's Cloud. Does Vidar, and he will land, but does the teleport get off in time?
Oh, wow.
It does, and it doesn't look like the Bluestone ticks will be quite enough. It looked like he was sub 50 when we first cut over there. Very close.
Unbelievable. And you know, that fatal strike, the execute symbol sort of vanished briefly, didn't it? And I wonder if that was a little soul eater heal that just helped Vidar. Now, Tedesco still didn't hit the ult by the look of it. Nearly got soloed for his transgressions, but fair enough. There, no trade in the end. Nice work from Tedesco. I suppose you say calculated with 50 HP more than he needed. I was wondering where that Sun Wukong one was coming. I'm sure it was off cooldown, and again, just fractionally off. Again, it's another gank onto Murloc this time. Not quite enough damage, though.
Rounded archery safe enough to make sure that he gets to leave with his life, but it is a TKO, which will give Suzuki on this Ola run more time to kind of farm up. He'll get the T1 tower, as well as a purple buff invade successful from Apple Toast there. So a good rotation from this Ratatoskr nets quite a bit for underscore over in the left lane.
We were talking about earlier before that scuffle in solo, these contrasting styles in jungle. You've got the Ratatoskr, so much rotation power and so much base damage as well, and especially with this Acorn completed, so potent in terms of ganking these side lanes, and in fact is looking for mid now.
He is up into the air. He will try and land under the Scylla. Doesn't quite find enough there to get a kill.
Blink from Lina.
Good stun from onto Lina there to make sure that there is no chase potential. The Xingqian kind of out in no man's land at the moment. Could be trouble. Uses that washing machine. Does throw away two and dodge the I'm a monster, but will end up falling. But now Apple Toast
so low.
has seen some potential, jumps in, but is caught out by the River's Rebuke. Golden Apple will land onto Panos and do quite a bit of damage, but it looks like this Yamoja safe enough to live for the time being, and now it could be trouble for Blakey, who's caught the ire of the Sun Wukong Somersault Cloud. Will finish off.
What is going on?
Getting that one as Apple Toast dives the tier 2, does get a kill, but will fall in trade. It was a kind of a slow early game. Now that the beacon spawned, we just decided to scrap in totality there in the mid lane.
All started with Xenphius stepping, you'd say probably a little bit far up at the enemy speed buff. Does get a good double ult and avoids the armor monster as well. And again, there's support coming from Apple Toast once again. All about setting the pace on this Ratatoskr and kind of helped salvage that a little bit, but it certainly wasn't a one-sided fight. Picks for both teams. Vidar got a very useful kill. I think Blakey will be feeling that Vidar was given way too much time to just run down this Discordia. Not particularly well farmed, this Sun Wukong, but is doing a lot of damage, again, compared to these mid laners. And was allowed all the time in the world to clean up the kill with no real response. But again, they were sort of focused on their own little fight happening in mid lane. And it's hard to say who benefits from that kind of fight. You would say that, again, Mahakali happy with those kind of scrappy engagements because it's all about extending the lifetime of this game. Underscore, meanwhile, They would have liked it to be a little bit more in their favor because again, that with these kind of scrappy fights, they're not able to convert these picks into objectives, into these gold furies, into these Stygian beacons, which I believe just went to underscore. They're not quite able to extend their lead because of the nature of these fights.
Yeah, they do have that lead around 4,000 or so in their favor, 3,900. But as we've been saying, the timer that they kind of have at the moment to make sure they do not let this Mahakali team make it to late game safely, they would hope to want to snowball this a little bit further as Appletoast looks to get aggressive again. Acorn stun not quite on the mark, so they'll just back up for the time being. We've seen Appletoast be aggressive all over this map. 4, 2, and 3. He's got that blood forged finished out there, as well as his Acorn. It looks like he's going into what I imagine will be a serrated edge. So this Ratatosker's definitely been making his impact known all across the map.
And we'll keep going as well with this kind of build. You are still going to shred late game. Again, more aggression. Look at the damage.
So much. The apple just off the mark. I'm a monster will buy
we go.
some safety, but not enough. Appletoast will get that kill and might be trying to find a little bit more as well. But with Lina rotating in, gets the stun, will get the kill onto Appletoast. That's a big kill in there. But Blakey's in a lot of trouble once again to this Sun Wukong, who's just able to completely run at them and should have almost enough damage. The cudgel, not quite enough. Good strike to try and buy some space, but once again, this Sun Wukong is so hard to peel away, but Blakey able to live for so long. The cudgel under the tower though, but now he's very low.
Oh, no, he's not.
Fatal Strike is available, and he will land it this time. So at least the kill turned around, but Blakey, as well as Appletoast and Zenfius, will all end up falling for underscore there.
So what's that, a 3 for 2 now? I think it's so hard to keep track of these long fights, but it all starts with big man Jesus, again getting pressured under their own tower by this Ratatosker. I'm glad you mentioned the Blood Forge on the Rat, because the way that Appletoast has been playing this crazy dive style of Ratatosker, which is absolutely working. The Blood Forge passive is proving enormous when they're able to get these really deep kills. And again, there's yet more scrapping, and Sasuke's really low.
Yeah, it's the beads. He gets away from the Sikkim and the crush. Uses Sanctified Field, but I'm a monster, doesn't care. And we'll get a kill onto him. But Blakey at least turns around that kill onto big man Jesus. Seems like with the rotation in from Ted on that Achilles teleporting to this side of the map, they could want to look at a Gold Fury. It seems like first they'll go for the kills. Lina will get poked out and need to back up. The golden apple lands onto this Yamoja, and Panos in a lot of trouble. No HP left, but living finds so much time, will end up falling eventually, but about enough time for Mullig to find a kill onto Appletoast. Back and forth fights again over here on the left side of the map. Seems like things will fizzle for the time being. But it doesn't look like either team can get a clean fight win. They're both back and forth.
So 2 for 1, I think now. It's so ridiculous, but great entertainment to watch, I have to say. Again, it all starts with Zenfius, who, again, is pretty deep, you'd have to say, but ulting onto Panos, and I called at the time, you know, I think that's a bit of an overcommitment for just a level 12 Yamoja. Panos lasts a very long time, and again, it's just buying time for Vida, I think, and that's key. Vida, who has struggled, I think, into Tedesco, although nearly got the solo kill, has consistently been out-farmed as well, thanks to that early pressure, but actually has made quite an impact, I think, on killing this backline, as you'd expect a Sun Wukong to do, and certainly there's plenty of damage there, lots of safety, of course, with the Somersault Cloud, with the 72 transformations. It's basically weaseling their way around the backline and doing a lot of damage, even though the charts don't seem to reflect that, but it's just about working for them. It's kind of keeping them afloat. The worry for me is that the way that they're fighting, they're kind of not farming as particularly well, whereas you compare that on the other side, I think Underscore aren't losing too much of their farm, whilst also maintaining this level of combat that's going on all the time. So we need to be looking at that. You know, this is a level 14 Sun Wukong. Needs to remember that, yes, you're doing a lot in the backline, and maybe you feel you have to help your team out a little bit, but you do need to start leveling up, because it's a 2-level deficit now, and at some point these backliners will come online and you will not be tanky anymore.
Yeah, a pretty greedy build coming out of Vidar there, which has been working for the time being, but as you said, could be on a bit of a timer himself if he's not careful. The beacon, though, underway here, almost captured by Underscore as the washing machine and River's Rebuke comes out. The golden apple of Discord will land on the Lina, who has that destruction ultimate to live for the time being, but Sanctified Field and the Ratatasker all come out, and Desco will get a kill onto Panos as Appletoast dives the tower and gets another kill, looking for one more in the back line. Lina so low, and Suzuki will get a kill onto Mulug, but it looks like Lina will make it out. Can the same be said for Vidar, though, who has the Somersault Cloud? We'll go up and try and figure out where you're gonna land. There are so many members around trying to maybe turn around a kill. Has that bull form to make it out, but Sun Wukong's so hard to chase down. Seems like Underscore say not worth it. We got the beacon. Let's take the Pyromancer after what was maybe the first clean team fight win we've seen for Underscore so far.
Absolutely, the first time they've managed to go. Hey, and there's Vidar as well. They've actually, that's essentially a full deicide. They've gone 5-0, and as a result, they've actually taken their first objective. They've taken the Pyromancer off the board. I think they got the Stygian Beacon as well. Now we're starting to see a bit of a lead developing. It's not really, you'd say, big enough to say that you're comfortably going to win this game. I think Mahakali will still feel there's fight back potential. Lina is still yet to die in this level 17 Kali. Hasn't quite had the impact we want to see yet, but certainly has not been doing badly by any means. That's just the nature of this pick. But you are a little bit concerned now because this Scylla is getting picked off quite easily. Again, Appletoast doing a lot of work. This Tedesco is just an unkillable god at this point. They're all gods, but you can't kill Tedesco at all at this stage. There's nothing that you have, certainly not with this Scylla build. This Hachiman might be doing a bit of damage, but it's looking really, really tough in these team fights. And again, I think Mahakali, they just need to stall it out a little bit longer. I've been saying it all game, and this is going to help their cause because they've got to try and defend this Gold Fury.
Well, Fury leased for the time being, as Appletoast looks for something. I'm a Monster was used as well, and Big Man Jesus will start the fight off with a kill onto Zenphius. Blakey, though, will turn that kill back around immediately. Sanctified Field does trap in the Yamoja and the Sun Wukong, who heads up into the Somersault Cloud, and Desco will get the Fatal Strike reset onto that Yamoja. Vidar now the one in quite a bit of trouble. That was the clone. Haven't gotten baited by one of those in a while, but I did just now as Gold Fury is restarted. But Lina's on the back of this fight here. Lots of damage on this Kali. Pops the Destruction ultimate and will find a kill. Vidar will get credit for that one onto Suzuki. And low health bars for lots of members of Underscore here. This Gold Fury was what was being looked at originally, but still has not fallen yet. Appletoast in a bit of trouble trying to make it out. The Cudgel will land a sliver of HP. 42 is all that kept Appletoast out of the gray screen, but he will be able to get the back successfully off, and it doesn't look like Underscore want to drop this chase quite yet.
I think Vidar's gonna die here, the way they're positioning. Could get a good knock, but should be stunned out of it potentially. Okay, so now I was gonna say it's a 2 for 2, it's now 3 for 2. Still fighting, there's still more action going on, and still no objectives have been taken. Lina again was able to get that pick on the back line on Sasuke, just about salvaging that fight, but once again, they're not clean from either side, and as a result, these objectives, they feel anything but free, because you've got Panos here, you've got Mulug as well, who is chunking on this Hachiman, doing a lot of damage. They're going to scare them off.
He is low health bar for Zenphius, unable to really tank that Gold Fury up anymore, but we see a blink in from the back from Lina, who's forced to jump away. Golden Apple of Discord thrown out, as well as the Ratatasker all going up. Will get the knockup onto Lina, and the Sanctified Field comes out and forces the I'm a Monster. Blakey will get the kill, but Mulug will turn one around onto Appletoast, shutting down this Ratatasker. But it's Desco who's in the backline here. Look at the damage that this Achilles can put out right now. Just able to buy so much space. But again, team fight not quite clean enough for either side, and this Gold Fury is still up for grabs. It seems like Underscore are going to try and finally take this one away.
Mulug is still around, still full HP, doesn't have relics online, nor the ultimate, but Vidar's gone in. Again, I love this, just to chase them off. You don't look to steal, making space, and actually Tedesco could fall here. That's massive.
He will end up falling, shutting down the Achilles, who had not died yet. Lina will make sure that that happens. Now it's Gold Fury going the way of Mahakali. Doesn't look like anybody from Underscore will be able to steal that one away. It was Underscore, you know, all those minutes ago, feels like forever, before all those scrapping, that wanted to get that Gold Fury originally. But after back and forth team fights over and over, it's Mahakali who pick up that objective for themselves.
And again, I'm going to sing the praises of Vidar, who is not farming at all, but is doing so much good work on the back end, helps them to secure it. But this is a big tower dive. They are going to get Sasuke and Apple Toast now on his own.
On his own and in a lot of trouble. That's a 2-for-none trade, plus the tier 1 tower. Underscore's members there wanting to step up and try and find some farm, but ended up punishing them heavily. And it will lead to Mahakali getting a Pyromancer off the back end as well. Do you think we've crossed that threshold? Has the timer gone off? Has Mahakali made it? Because the gold lead doesn't exist anymore, and it seems like they're winning these fights pretty handedly now.
It's starting to feel like it, isn't it? Apple Toast is suddenly having way much more difficulty, should we say, on finding any kind of target. Liner feels kind of like Kali should feel at this stage. Pretty much unstoppable, and is actually baiting out quite a lot of things along with Vidar. I think those two are the real shining stars here, but the duo lane as well is looking good. Panos has had some good ultimates. I think Molog, the damage numbers absolutely on top of the damage charts, and rightfully so. This Hachi has felt pretty oppressive, I have to say, with the kind of poke that's coming out. And again, no one's really looking at Molog, and I think that needs to change for Underscore. Apple Toast needs to now switch targets from this Scylla and from Liner and Vidar. Needs to kind of ignore those. You need to look at Molog, who I think is doing the real damage in these fights. But again, they look really good at this stage. I'm going to keep singing the praises of Vidar, who I think has come back from a pretty poor position in lane, and has actually helped out in these team fights massively. We saw around that Gold Fury, the space they were able to create. They managed to get enough room for their teammates to kill off Tedesco, which was an enormous shutdown. They got objectives off it, and now, as you say, there's barely any gold in it. In fact, Mahakali have a very solid lead at this stage, and that's frightening with the comp they have. If they can start getting the setup for Big Man Jesus on this Scylla, then there's nothing else that can go wrong for them.
Yeah, definitely working out in Mahakali's favor here in the past few minutes. And I completely agree with what you're saying about Vidar. It's those untangibles, those things that don't appear on, you know, the kill death column. They don't appear in the builds. You don't find it on the stat screen at the end. But just the ability to blink into that Gold Fury, buy the space, force them to back up. It's been such a big thing that Vidar has done time and time again here, as the Titans will begin to clash over in this solo lane. You have to imagine that Underscore are going to want to try and win this little Titan battle to try and get some more push going before they could be in more trouble, as beads are forced out on Apple Toast. Lina, level 20 and swinging on this Kali. The Titan from Mahakali will end up falling, but Apple Toast could soon be to follow, forced to ult away. Will be able to make it out for the time being, but that's given this Chaos Side team the ability to step up freely. They don't have to worry about this Ratatosker. The T1 tower in solo will fall, but this Scylla is starting to do a bit more damage. It's an interesting build coming out of Big Man Jesus. How do you feel about what the Scylla's doing? Is I might not even have time to ask you. So much damage onto Zenphius. Good use of the relics should get him out for the time being. It seems like this is what could be the beginning of a Fire Giant dance.
Yeah, very much so. And again, you have to favor in these kind of positions. Favor your mode. Absolutely, if you can get a big River's Rebuke. I think the Scylla poke is perhaps on par with Discordia, though Discordia has it more often. And speaking of poke, massive damage, and they go for the kill. No, the Apple not quite.
Apple not on the mark, but Vidar could be in a lot of trouble because the Suzuki's here and he's doing quite a bit of damage, but Apple Toast is the first one to fall here. Lina getting credit for that one, but execute threshold met for Vidar, but he's safe enough to make it out with that bird form. River's Rebuke splits the fight as Sanctified Field will slow down Panos. Lots of damage going onto the Emoja and onto Mullig. You said close. They should look at him, and they are, and Tedesco will get a kill onto that, a double kill for this Achilles, but in the backline is Lina, goes into that destruction ultimate and will find a kill onto Suzuki before falling to Blakey, who gets the shutdown for the first time. Kali will end up falling, but Blakey falls as well, and it's just Tedesco remaining for the side of Underscore. Big Man and Vidar both up, but low health bars for the two of them. A back and forth fight. Can he find this one more kill? Good juke to get under the wall there. I don't know if Achilles quite has the ability to catch up. Will decide to get out. Could look for the 2v1 though. Sikkim and Crush both land.
No.
Neither side wanting to get completely decided, but no objective able to be done off the back of that fight, as it ends up being a 4 for 3 in favor of Mahakali.
4 for 3. I'm glad you said that. Well done for keeping track. Massive fight all over the place. Again, it's hard to see who kind of wins. They get the shutdown on the 7-0 Cali, which I think is pretty massive. I'm not sure who got it. I think it might have been Blakey, actually.
I think so, yeah.
That feels pretty significant. You finally killed the unkillable. But again, no clean fights for either side, and I think it kind of comes down to which solo lane is able to tank for longer, because it feels like in that fight Tedesco really was unkillable, was completely untouched, and even in a 1v2 at the last stages of that fight, no real chance of getting that kill. Now this is potential. Dash through, actually gonna turn it around.
That is not what Appletoast was looking for, but he ups down, still wanting this, but one more auto will do it, and he will get the turnaround kill. Mullig, though, could fall next, as Suzuki's made his way over here on this Ola run. Just a little bit more damage if he can find it, but this Hachiman is very mobile. It seems like he will be able to get out safely. Good plays out of Mullig to get the kill and to get out there. In the mid lane, though, Blakey under a bit of pressure, dashes underneath the tower, throws out the golden apple in Discord onto Vidar, who heads up into the somersault cloud. Now the chase is gonna be on. They will back up though, right as I say that, not wanting to dive past the tier 2 tower in mid. And it seems like Lina's in the back line here. Could catch out Blake. He gets the blink and the stun. So much damage onto this Disco, who will end up falling. Blakey there dropping to the hands of Lina once again. So that's a 2 for none trade, favoring out Mahakali. And we've crossed the 30-minute threshold. This Fire Giant's now enhanced seems to be the target for this Chaos side squad.
Yeah, and we haven't had a Fire Giant yet, have we? Again, that's the nature of this game. But Lina still in the backline, still shredding. Xenphius is a bit more tanky. They've made a bit of space, but this FG burn is not quick. And in fact, they're going to have to drop off this here, because despite the sustain, the health bars are dropping. Tedesco on his own is basically 1v4. Still very tanky, but they are going to get this kill. Surely.
He is tanky, but a good Sprout, and he makes it out of the Crush and the Sikkim, but Vidar will not let that one get out of there. Lina will get a kill, Vidar will get another, and I think you might be right, as Appletoast in a lot of trouble as well. He will fall the Mullig, and that's a deicide. All 5 members still standing for Mahakali. Seems like they want to dot their I's and cross their T's. We'll get this EFG before they start pushing down. There are still 3 tier 2 towers left, so I don't mind them trying to just make sure they get the safe win instead of running it down and ending up throwing it away.
I got a bit overexcited. There are still plenty of towers on the map you have to get rid of, or even looking at these Phoenixes. And of course, I think we've only had 1 Pyrobound, so there's only 1 Pyro Bomb on the board now. This is still potential. Blakey gets a good jump.
He got it! He got it! Underscore stealing away. Blakey walking up and just taking it with that first ability from Discordia. It does end up dying, but at that point it doesn't matter. I'm at a loss for words.
Criminal. You can't let that happen. I think you have to wait for that little jump from Discordia. Then you can go in with your stun or with your knockup. But they should have had the numbers there. I feel like, and I wasn't looking, but I feel like not all the members of Mahakali were actually there to like help with burn and help with zone, because really, given the numbers advantage, there's no way Blakey should have even got close to that Fire Giant, let alone steal it. But they've allowed that to happen. Now they don't get EFG on anyone, but you've taken it away from Mahakali. There's still towers to get through. This is far from over, and I was calling this game was about to finish. No way. This game is still very much on thanks to a massive steal, highlight reel play from Blakey on the Discordia, and they're still very much in this. I just can't call this at the moment.
No, Blakey just extended the match another 4-5 minutes at least by just walking up and stealing that fire giant. Unbelievable plays coming out of the mid laner for underscore here. Just keeps his squad still in the game. Which we've been talking about the timer that they're on. We've been talking about how Mahakali has this good late game draft, but it seems like underscore is able to fight into it. We've seen what Tedesco can do on this Achilles, how hard he is to deal with. He's got that Jotuns online right now, so he will be able to do even more damage. And then something we haven't talked about too much is Suzuki on this Ola run, as the Ratatoskr ultimate is used to try and kick off a fight. Will land onto lineup, but just dash away. Not wanting to. Lots of members here in the mid lane. Seems like we could get a bit of an assault match going here, should these teams decide to fight it out. But Pyromancer's available, and it'll be what Mahakali go for. But this Ola run, bit of a late game hyper carry himself. You think it's enough to keep up with what, Scylla and Kali can bring here in the late game?
Whoa, massive strife. We'll have to think about that in a minute, because but again, Linus on the back line does have the apple, and the destruction might not be enough.
It won't be. Sanctified Field and River's Rebuke used as well. Linus still getting chased, though, in the back line, but here it is low health bars for Zenphius, who will end up falling to Mulligan. Mounted Archery will do a lot of damage as well. Apple Toast, though, will turn one around. Mulligan trouble himself now, and Blakey will get the kill onto him. Vidar could be in a bit of trouble, but has that Somersault Cloud again. And the Prid win to try and make it up. But look at the damage coming out from both members here. Apple Toast will get that kill and the beats out from Lina up into the ultimate. He goes. Lina could be in trouble as well. And this Kali will end up falling. It's just Vidar left alive for Mahakali.
And that all starts with the fact that they're able to force the destruction, and then they force Lina out of the fight completely. And suddenly that fight just doesn't go their way, because although Malog is able to still do some good damage, they get a pick on the Zenphius, they're already at a numbers disadvantage. Lina's been forced back to base, and that's what gave them the win in that team fight. Just sheer numbers, nothing else. And everyone was doing their job, but in the end, they just had one less player on the map, and that's what cost them.
Ooh. The Phoenix just disappears, as well as the health bar for Vidar, who wants to turn around. Damage, though, and will get a kill onto Blakey before he gets shut down by Suzuki there on this Ola run. But at least the mid-bird does end up falling. Underscore got what they wanted out of that. And look at the gold graphs, the story that tells, the dip down towards Mahakali, but Underscore just pulling it back. Apple Toast will try and find a kill onto Mullock, gets a good stun, uses the beats to get out with a mounted archery. Too much. It was a trap, but not for Mullock. He turned that one around very nicely.
Call an ambulance, but not for Mullock.
Exactly.
Ridiculous. And I do think Apple Toast needs to recognize that you're at the stage of the game where these backliners are doing more than anyone else on the map. We're seeing it with the solo laners as well. They are not as tanky as they once were. We're at that stage where damage is now superior to defense. That's just the way that the game goes at the moment. Look, there's a lot to be said for Tedesco and his build. He's very, very tanky. He's lasting a long time. I think he is clearly like the raid boss that you on the one hand, you kind of need to take down, but you also don't want to expend too many resources in trying to kill, because it will just take too long. And I think part of that is down to the fact that Big Man Jesus really hasn't been having much of an impact on this Scylla. Second lowest on the damage charts, which is a thing with Scylla. That is the caveat of, if you hit people, they will die. Otherwise, there's not much in the way of solid, consistent poke coming out. But you would expect a little bit more, and certainly the armor monsters haven't really been hitting the mark. The crushes haven't been doing a ton. Most of them have been on to Tedesco, and with this style of build, you're not actually getting through the procs much. But Vidar, on the other hand, not very tanky at all, is getting shredded.
Yeah, immediately low health bars for the Sun Wukong, who's forced to back up. Will get the back off, but has the teleport to get back quickly should it be needed. But yeah, Big Man Jesus just hasn't been able to find exactly what you want out of a Scylla there. An interesting build with the Polynomicon is not something that I would have expected to see. But with Vidar back here, he's in the back line. He could be trying to turn something around, but he just gets deleted. Where did he go? Absolutely melted. Will not be able to take part in this any further. Apple Toast does a lot of damage onto Mullig, who now is trying to get away with the mounted archery, but Ratatosk are very mobile, and the Acorns will be enough to get that kill. A Sanctified Field does force Lina to run away, as Panos will end up falling to Tedesco. And Apple Toast not done yet. Now on to big man Jesus, just a little bit more damage needed. Uses the beads to make sure that that goes his way. Fire Giant does seem to be the call. Lina is alive though, and is rotating over towards it. Might be able to steal this one.
Ending now.
And it seems like, yes, they've changed their mind. They're just going to go for the end instead.
Oh, and actually, Lina having made themselves visible on the map, now that kind of stops your defense. Lina actually should have probably backed there, but now Tedesco is just going to follow Lina around, and that means there's no defense. Their Titan is exposed. That's going to be game 1 to underscore.
Lina will get a kill onto Tedesco, but it's not enough in time. Wow. The Titan will end up falling. An underscore will take game 1 here. Ended up working out even with the late game draft that Mahakali had.
Yeah, that kind of felt like it started with Vido getting poked out, TPing back in, which is fine. That's what it's for. But went in a little too deep, and perhaps on a different page to their teammates. That one felt like a sort of a breakdown in communication there. Vidar went in, and there was no one else nearby, and knew that they had the Somersault Cloud. Did not matter with the damage coming out from this Discordia, especially. I think did really, really well. In fact, they all did well. Sasuke putting out tons of damage, actually top of the charts for underscore. Very, very impressive, despite the KDA. I think that's kind of what you'd expect for the Oleron. But again, that one felt close. It certainly didn't feel like first versus sixth, shall we say, in the MD stats.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mahakali can be pretty pleased with what they've done. I think their draft was solid. I think there are a few things they needed to work out, mostly with the Scylla. Did the Scylla work with the setup they had? Probably not, unfortunately. You maybe wanted something with just a bit more self-setup, a bit more of an easy time poking. Because I think if they got that call right, that game certainly could have swung the other way. It was by no means a one-sided affair, and I look forward to game 2.
Yeah, very back and forth. Game 2 could prove to be much of the same. We're going to cut to a quick break before we come back from that one, but you definitely don't want to miss out. Find out if underscore can keep their undefeated streak alive, or if Mahakali can punch back and push us to a game 3. We'll be back on the GSL in just a few moments. And welcome back, everybody, to game number 2 between Underscore and Mahakali here in the middle division. If you missed game 1, it was a good one, and Underscore took away that first win, putting themselves up 1-0 in the set. As we hop back into picks and bans for games 2 here, seems like the Achilles that was used to great effect in game 1 is going to get the respect ban here, Zats.
Not surprising, Tedesco put in a very good show. Dominant in lane with the early solo kill. Not entirely one-sided in that solo lane matchup, you have to say, but a great performance. And that's the thing with Achilles, with that passive as well. You can build full tank. You end up with so many prots, but you are still relevant in terms of team fights, in terms of not so much damage but getting kills, because that execute is always relevant. No matter how little damage you have in the build, you've got a 35% execute to use at will, and I think getting it out of the hands of Tedesco, a very, very good idea. Another adjustment as well is the Kali. Again, not too surprising. I think Liner clearly very comfortable on it, farmed super well in the early game, and was at times, if not even then, ahead in fact, of Apple Toast on this Ratatosker. So a couple of adjustments, but it might leave some things up, including this Baba Yaga.
Yeah, I like taking away the Kali as well. Lina looked incredible on that pick. It was 7-0-6 or something, I think, before they died for the first time, and was still impactful throughout the entirety of the game. But with Baba Yaga left open, such a safe mid laner who can build quite a bit of tankiness and still turn around so much damage. Good first pick for Underscore there, but it's the Thor on the other side is the immediate answer back, which is a bit of a flex pick. We've seen Thor a lot in the jungle, obviously. He's been kind of impactful for a few patches in that role, but with 10.6, can flex over to the solo lane, could go to the hands of Vidar. Is there a role you'd like to see this Thor on more than the other?
I think I actually prefer the Thor in solo lane. I don't think Thor is a top jungle pick anymore. I think it's certainly fine. I was a bit surprised that it was banned game number 1. But I do see the value of it in solo lane. It's all about Bluestone Pendant. It's all about wave clear and rotations. And Thor does that better than anyone. And also builds these kind of hybrid items, you know, the Glad Shields, the Pridwinds, the Runeforged Hammers, anything like that. The Manticore Spikes. Thor builds all of those really, really well. You can get ahead nicely in that solo lane. In the jungle, I would say not so much. I'm not such a fan of it, but one thing I am surprised about is they get this Hatchy, which is good. I like taking that away, but I am concerned about giving up this Baba Yaga, because I do think Baba Yaga is the mid laner at the moment. There are others that are in and around the Baba, but none can quite reach the heights of this Baba Yaga, who I think builds very well at the moment. They are going to actually run it back as well with the Ratatosker and the Oleron. No surprises there. I think Aptos looks very, very good, certainly in the early game, and that's kind of all you want from the Ratatosker, I would say. You don't have to worry about what you're doing late game as long as you get the odd kill and you're using your CC properly. But it's the fact that they made it so difficult for Mahakali in the early game, that makes the Ratatosker worth picking.
Yeah, it works out, and this is, we even see some subs coming through from Underscore here, so it will be a different look in the jungle and the support lane, but still wanting to keep the same picks. Love to see how they're piloted in game 2, while it's the Kuzumbo picks up for Mahakali, which is another god that can kind of flex between solo and support. So still kind of question marks of what will go where, and if you're Underscore, they take away the Kakulin, maybe thinking Thor will go to the jungle, Kuzumbo will go support.
Yeah, I can actually see that. I think we're likely to see Kuzumbo go to support. I would say that it's pretty not hotly contested, but it is quite popular in the support role more than anything. I do think it has some value in solo, and certainly they can hold out on these two picks. They can wait to see what they're up against, and really you can wait till that last pick to decide. But if they lock this in, that will pretty much confirm where they are going to be. Now, there's still some flex potential between the Thor and the Loki, but I wonder if I've got your back. This pick. But no, they are going to slam lock the Loki. And this feels like, I think this is a pretty prolific liner pick from what I remember. So I can kind of see why they want to pick that up, but I do think you could have held on to this pick, because really there was no risk of taking a Loki for Underscore.
And executioner.
Yeah, not really a pick that gets hotly contested in at least a lot of the games that I've seen. But with the tier lock in and a Shiva hover,
It is
makes kind
time
of
to
underscores
cast out the
draft
wicked.
a little more interesting. Dude, this has got to be tier support then, right? Did 408 join the game and I missed it?
I think that Shiva has also. I mean, Shiva has certainly risen in popularity both roles. I've seen some Shiva supports. I think it can run a game early, not so much late game. Kind of the same style as Tier. I would say Tier does have a little more options in the late game with the sheer amount of CC that he offers. Shiva does fall off a little bit more, is a little more reliant on healing, and again, that could be shut down as well pretty easily, especially that ultimate. But I don't mind which one goes where. They know the Thor is going to the solo lane, so I wonder if they'll put maybe the Shiva in the solo, because again, Thor can immune half of Tier's kit. Shivers as well, so I don't really mind. Both are very strong warriors at the moment. I'm surprised they've gotten so far down, but I have to say it's a pretty scary looking team for Underscore. Much more scary than last game, and they won last game handily in the end. So I'm a little bit concerned because I'm not sure how the Mahakali draft is going to work in this.
Yeah, might be kind of difficult. I'm not exactly knowledgeable on how Loki plays in 10.6, how he feels. I know in the past we've seen some kind of tanky hybrid style builds coming out of the Loki. Do you think that's the direction that Lina's going to take this, or do you want to see kind of a full damage setup to maybe be able to get back onto Suzuki on the Ola run and just kind of blow him up?
I think you absolutely need to go full. Not quite far as the crit route, but you need full ability damage. Get lots of pen in there as well. And you don't even need pen so much, but you just need to be able to one shot a squishy, which you can still do. You can certainly do that in the early game as well. Your ganks are not bad. They're not Ratatoska level, but they're not bad. I don't know. I know it's a comfort pick, and that's why it's been picked, I suspect. But I'm not fully convinced by this Loki, assuming it is going in the jungle. I'm having to favour the underscore draft massively. I think Mahakali has some good picks. I think the Hachi Agni backline is super strong. Kuzumbo, I'm not fussed about it, but it's how well this Thor Loki combo can dive the backline, which kind of flipping it on its head from game number one. The underscore backline is super safe, and I'd have a lot of concerns about how much you're going to be able to do to this Babra and to this Oleron.
Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to hop into game two here between these two squads and find out exactly how this backline is going to work for underscore and what Mahakali can do to try and pull themselves back into this game. It will be tier support. Kino picking that one up and will invade. You're right. I almost didn't notice that was the wrong purple buff, but tier with a lot more early pressure. Looks like he's going to at least get the smalls on the camp. Just being a little annoying. That's left an interesting start for this Ola run, who clears out just the XP camp and now moves to purple, not opting to pick up that green buff. No, he did end up dropping it, I believe. So an interesting start. It does put the tier a little bit behind, but it also puts the others behind, and it lets Ola run get to level 2 right off the bat. Not a start we see too often, but it seemed to work out.
Yeah, and I think they maybe recognised the start they did in game number one. You have to sort of, I mean, there's no reason you can't just sort of stand there and just see whether they're gonna be aware of this invade, whether they're maybe gonna try and pull all three, that kind of thing. But what it does mean is that this Oleron, who again is going to struggle compared to the Hachiman, you've given him a bit of extra leeway in this lane, and as a tier, you're not so fussed about falling behind so much. I kind of like this from Kino.
Seems like Apple Toast is still in the game. I was mistaken on the desk of this switch out there, as once again it's Tedesco with so much pressure in the solo lane, not quite enough to get another first blood here in this set, at least quite yet, but is making sure that Vidar knows that this is going to be a high pressure Shiva game. Meanwhile, over here in the dual lane, fighting over the shield buff, will do quite a bit of damage to Suzuki on the Ola run, but Appletoast has made his way over. Steps over a ward though. So Mahakali will be aware of it and will just back up and stay in lane, staying safe for the moment, but it could be trouble for Blakey in the mid lane, but Baba Yaga safe enough at least to make it back under the tier 1 tower.
Yeah, nothing doing there. I like the rotation from Boost. Is now half a level ahead of. Appeared to focus more on that solo side and probably on those mid harpies as well. Interesting to see which way they went, but this is kind of the nature, and actually going for an early gank. This is a level 2 Loki with no mana. I think Tedesco takes this. Oh, it's close.
He's so low, but will safely make it out. Almost turned that around, but with Appletoast here, could be a lot of trouble for both of these members. Good wall will save the life for the time being for Lina. Can make it underneath the tower, but Appletoast getting aggressive. Blakey could be first blood though. Just a little bit more damage is all that's needed. Trying to make it out here. Blast off will try and turn it around, but the stun is enough, and Big Man will get the kill there. But at the same time, it looks like Suzuki ended up falling over there in dual lane. 2 kills quickly going the way of Mahakali here in the early game.
Crazy stuff. A nice pickup onto the Oleron, I have to say. Not sure. That's always something you want to see. Again, not massively surprising. Mahakali have the pressure in that dual lane, but they're perhaps a little bit lucky as well that they don't lose anyone in solo side. Vidar and Lina, they definitely struggle at this stage of the game. You just need to get items online. If you're this Thor solo, you feel like you've got no mana, even with a blue buff. You don't do any damage. You can't clear the wave. It just takes a little bit too long to get online, and you have to say the same for a Loki. And it was an ambitious gank to say the least, but they did get away with it. They didn't lose anyone. They wasted a bit of time and actually allowed Big Man Jesus in the mid lane to get a quite rare solo kill, which doesn't normally happen in the mid. But again, comes down to having that conduit gem online and having that tier 1 artifact. It's such a better start than what Blakey's gone, and that's not a criticism on Blakey, because I think this is probably the correct build for this Baba Yaga, but for Big Man Jesus, you have to recognize that it's just a stronger build at this stage of the game.
Sanctified kill comes out after a rotation in from Lina, but it's actually Panos who's in a lot of trouble. Kuzumbo low health bar. Tedesco gets a kill on the other side of the map, but Lina will turn around the kill onto Suzuki. Now it's just this tier of Kino who's left on this side of the map, trying to run out, but a good stun coming out of Mulligan. The mounted archery will seal the deal. There's a 2 for none over there in the dual lane, but at least Tedesco did turn a run around in the solo lane at the same time.
Yeah, a bit of help from Appletoast as well. I think that it's important to get that kill on the board. You just get something, right? You get your first kill of the game. You get it onto Tedesco, who we know how scary they can be, especially with a lead coming out of this solo lane, especially into Thor. I think that's 10 times worse playing a Thor compared to a Sun Wukong. You do not want to fall behind in this pick because you're relying on your base damage more than anything. And when you're behind, your abilities aren't as leveled, so you're just doing less damage. And that means you can't clear. That means you're not fighting properly. Massive damage coming out from this Agni. Appletoast very poked, but should get out, I think.
Well, not.
Whoa!
If Thanos has anything to say about it, Kuzumbo will get that kill home sweet home. Used, meanwhile, to turn around a bit of damage onto the Agni, but a blue buff invade attempt from Tedesco will be looked at here, but Lineup comes over to try and secure it out. Thor all Anvil of Dawn use. He will make it up in time. Looks like the blue buff invade attempt was not successful either. Does he land down? He does, but he will land into death. Vidar will fall there to the hands of Tedesco, and now Lina is trying to turn around a kill. But I think you are right. He's actually going to turn it around, forced out the Loki ult. Assassinate. Burned by Lina there, who just wanted to try and get the return kill, but Tedesco just bringing too much right now in the mid lane. Blast off for Blakey will get a kill, and now there could be trouble as the Fearless into the wall. Panos trying to make it out. The Baba's Brew not quite enough up into the round, but a good blink will save the life of the support from Mahakali.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate. Appletoast could have just been patient. Maybe you're not even perhaps expecting the blink. You're just waiting for the Duke of some kind. You can stay on that tree for so long. Could have just held it a little bit more, but that's a bit better from Underscore. Again, you just can't fight the Shiver at the moment. Already had the full Glad Shield. I think Vidar at level 6 only had the tier 2 breastplate, so you're getting that HP 5. You've got that passive already. You've got that CDR. You just cannot fight this. And I say, you don't have the damage online at all from this Thor and from this Loki. And the more you do that, the more time you spend over in the solo lane, the more farm you're essentially taking away from Vidar. And that is not what you need right now if you're this Thor. And also, you're taking time away from Lina, forcing the ult away. Nearly died to Tedesco anyway, did this Loki. It's a big problem now, and the fact they're starting to lose these fights in mid as well. Blakey is looking pretty comfortable, getting a return kill onto the Agni. Mahakali set the initial pace, but now it's kind of swinging back to Underscore's favour, and I think in the long run that's definitely going to benefit them looking at these two drafts.
Lineup finds Kino in the jungle. We'll just get a bit of poke damage off. So look at where Blakey is, jiving underneath the tier 1 tower to get more damage onto big man Jesus. Apple will dive the tier 2 tower and get the kill onto the Agni, but is immediately turned around by Lina there on the Loki. So a 1-for-1 trade in mid, but over in dual lane, both of these ADCs are fighting it out. Here comes the supports, though, as Sanctified Field is used. The Kuzenbo and the Mounted Archery from Hachiman are used, and Mullig will get the better end of that trade. We are 8 minutes into this game, and there are 11 kills on the board. These two teams absolutely adore scrapping, and for Underscore, at least, it worked in Game 1. Do you think that similar play will work for them in Game 2 here?
I'm a little bit more concerned about in this game. I respect the fact that Apple Toast still willing to dive these towers at 8 minutes. That the playstyle has not changed, and again, we'll be going into this Bloodforge, which, you know, suggests there'll be no let up in pace or pressure from Apple Toast on this Raptoska, which I like. I think you have to do, and I think more so by the fact that there's going to be it. Oh, well, everything I was saying was wrong because Murloc just gets the kill.
Hey, immediately proving you wrong over there as Mullig just styled on Apple Toast, setting this Ratatosker even further behind now. Home Sweet Home used in the mid lane. The double Agni bombs do so much. The shield doesn't mean anything with the damage that big man is putting out on this mid lane pick. A low health bar for Mullig. He's trying to secure his purple buff, but he needs to be a little careful here. He will secure it. Unable to get it is Suzuki there, but that was close. If you're Mullig, you don't want to stick around. He does get the back off eventually there. But it seems like Mahakali feeling a lot more comfortable with this high level of pace here in Game 2, and with Apple Toast falling to 1, 3, and 2, doesn't have the same impact that it felt like they had in Game 1.
Yeah, it feels more like you're having to work a bit harder on this Ratatosk because your dual lane is struggling so much. I almost think you should kind of abandon them and maybe focus on just farming up a little bit more, not fighting so much. They're going to get aggressive onto Mullig, but again, mounted archery, out you go. Not too concerned about that. In fact, they might be able to turn this around on Kino. Bit of a damage check. The Loki nearly stacked that Transcendence. I would like to see, as I was saying, Apple Toast to kind of switch up the style a little bit. I do think you need to just focus on farm a bit more. There's not too much point in poking out this solo lane, but hang on. Tedesco's here. Good CC, though.
Great CC to hold him back. There's very low health bar for this mid laner, and big man will end up falling. Home Sweet Home used as well, as now it's a bit of trouble for Blakey, but the Shiva ult is here to heal him up quite a bit. The blink in from Lina, though, gets knocked up, though, on the back end. Up into the tree goes the Ratatosker, but Mullig has made his way over into this fight as well. Will get dropped on by the Ratatosker. Good Aegis buys some time. And Panos will look to save the life of his ADC. Might end up trading his life out for it in trade, though. But here comes Vidar, and Villadon out of nowhere. Doesn't do anything but tickle Tedesco. Mullig, though, will get the kill onto Kino. Seems like a full 5-on-5 was happening for a little bit there, but after the pick onto the support, Underscore will just back up for the time being. Stygian Beacon spawning in just around 45 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, better late than never. I think if you're Vidar, I almost would have preferred to see no rotation at all. I don't mind. I mean, Tedesco is free to do that with the level lead they have. 3 levels up now after getting another kill. I think it was on to Big Man Jesus as well. you're free to make that kind of rotation without any punishment. The only way you can kind of counteract that is either rotate with and try and match the rotation power, which honestly you're never going to do as a level 10 Thor, or you can stay in lane, try and farm up a little bit more. That said, it did, I suppose, help out in getting a little pick onto, I think it was Kino. It's little wins like that might help you out, but again, you've got this raid boss in Tedesco who's decided to rotate for the Stygian Beacon. Going to go down to 3. We didn't see as much in game number 1, but what we did see a lot was this constant brawling style from both teams, and there's been no let up here. It's been much the same in the last couple of minutes, and that's mostly down again to this solo lane, rotating over and just wrecking whoever they see.
Yeah, I think raid boss is the perfect term for Tedesco. He is just, every time he rotates in both of these games, feels like he's so hard to deal with. The Beacon goes the way of Underscore. Seems like the Gold Fury will go their way as well. Sanctified Field just to make sure no one from Mahakali can step up to do anything about that one, which does give Underscore around a 1200 or so gold lead for the time being. Nothing backbreaking if you're Mahakali, but enough to kind of maybe begin, could be a snowball, especially with someone like Tedesco who's, you know, feeling so far ahead, feeling so hard to deal with. And the later into this game we go, the harder it's going to be to deal with Blakey on this Baba Yaga as well.
Yeah, I think at this stage of the game, Tedesco is such a menace. You didn't even need to use the Sanctified Fields, I think, but no one was stepping near that Shiver. I do think, though, that Tedesco needs to make sure that they don't miss out on too much farm. You know, Vidar, in that free time, has got some levels back. It's a good dash out, but that's a death. The big man Jesus under the tower did get the return, though, thanks to Panos.
Anvil of Dawn lands in there in the mid lane as well, and it could be trouble for the support. Kino will live for the time being. Lina blinks in, and Mullig will get the kill. Mullig will get a double kill on this Hachiman, who's quietly gone 7-0-1 so far this game. I feel like we've been talking about Tedesco so often. We've been talking about Lina, big man. Where did 7-0-1 come from?
And that's the caveat, I think, when we're talking about Tedesco. Mullig is just as big, if not bigger. Now, we'll see how this matches up. I think Tedesco can last a long time, but the damage is not really coming out. They secure the Pyromancer. In fact, that's kind of all they want. Vidar needs to try and get out of this now. They've got what they came for. They know they're not going to kill Tedesco, even with Mullig and the 7-0. You don't quite have the items online yet to deal with this tank. But again, the longer this goes on and the more fighting that happens, I think the more that will favour Mullig especially, but also anyone on Mahakali, just because this Shiver will fall off so quickly late game. But there's more fighting, a big Fearless from Kino.
There is lots of damage onto Panos. She's trying to make it out. Tedesco tanking up the tower, and Suzuki will get a kill onto the support of Mahakali. The tier 1 tower falls. Agni bombs raining through. But here comes the Sanctified Field. It seems like they really want this tier 2 tower. Home sweet home under the Phoenix. Trying to find a kill onto Big Man. Won't be able to completely find the damage needed there, but the tier 2 tower will fall as well in the mid lane. So Underscore turn around quite a bit there. At least after the Pyromancer was taken by Mahakali, and they used the Runic Bomb to try and scare away Tedesco there in that jungle fight as well, which I always like seeing the Runic Bomb trying to find a kill. I want to do that one day, but a little easier said than done.
Yeah, I really like what I'm seeing though from Underscore. It feels a lot more objective play, so a lot more coherent this game compared to game number 1. Even though, you know, certainly in the kills, again, Mac, but Underscore are playing the map really, really cleanly. They're much better on their objectives this time. They're using their solo laner to great effect, much greater effect than Mahakali are able to do. Because again, Tedesco is basically just zoning 5 people at the moment, and just by walking at them, that's all you need to do. You don't need to expend anything. You don't need to use abilities. You just sort of look at them, and they know they have to back off. And Vidar just about getting out with a hair of HP, but now Lina could be under pressure.
Blink Fearless from Kino will do quite a bit and force out the Assassinate. But at least Lina will be able to back up for the moment. The tier 1 tower under pressure in the mid lane, and that will go down, but it will be answered in kind by a tier 1 tower in solo for Underscore as well. The Oni Fury should be respawning here very shortly, and it seems like that is the call for Mahakali, rotating over with numbers. They could want to pick Suzuki before that happens. At least the Oloran will make it under tower, but is forced to use the beads. Doesn't want to get CC'd by the damage coming out of Big Man Jesus quite yet.
Yeah, pretty happy with that trade. They can now actually look around this Gold Fury. They've got the positioning, and they know that Oloran doesn't have the beads. But again, Tedesco is here. It's an interesting dynamic. You've got two pretty fed characters on either side of the map, and actually, which one is it going to favour? Probably the Shiver. But again, the longer this goes on, you have to say this Shiver. You know, at what point do you full in commit to the Shiver? Use all your CC, use all your stuff, and you try and get the kill. At what point do you risk that? Because of course, if you try and do that and you fail to get the kill, you've used everything and you're just going to lose that team fight. But it's very delicately poised at the moment, and it's making for what looks to be a pretty even game between two pretty even teams. But I have to say, it's still going to favour Underscore just a little bit, but it's so hard to call because again, while Mollog is free to swing away at these frontliners and these backliners, it could go either way.
Thanos with a little bit of low health bars here. Tedesco frontlining very well as always. Here comes Apple Toast though, who's just zoning up on those branches. Anvil of Dawn was used as well there, so they got that ultimate out. Seems like the Gold Fury is going to be the call. Tedesco on the zone is pushing away Big Man, but might be taking quite a bit of damage, and Mullig will get the better end of that trade. The Sanctified Field will secure the Oni Fury for the Underscore at least, but Lina wants to turn around more, uses the beats to get out of the Fearless. Mullig with a double kill using that mounted archery. Can he get the triple onto the Ratatosker? Lina will get that kill instead. Appletoast getting dropped there by the jungle of Mahakali, and now Blakey's the one in a lot of trouble, trapped between four members. Vidar is here, uses the hammer toss to get into range. Just a little bit more is all is needed.
Wow.
And Big Man Jesus can get credit for that. It's just Kino left alive now for the side of Underscore. And you asked who gets the better end, which of these fed side lane characters ends up winning that fight. Well, I'll give you the answer. It was Mullig on the Tachibana.
Well, it turns out Tedesco can't tank everyone up, and again, with the help of Mullig, who's got this kin size, got checks, was able to get burned down. And whilst they lost the Gold Fury, they are very happy to take that fight out. But big Fearless, but Thor is in the air. They're looking for a fight here.
They are spin to win out of the Crucible as Anvil Dawn lands in the fire pit. Good wall to trap in Tedesco here, and he gets shoved into the other wall. He has that ultimate trying to heal up, but here's Apple Toast on the rotation. Gets a kill onto Vidar. It seems like it's enough to buy the space needed for Tedesco to make it out safely, who got very low over there by that Pyromancer fight. That one didn't work out quite as well as the Gold Fury fight did for Mahakali on the other side of the map.
Yeah, a little bit of an, I think, odd decision making for Vidar there. You just do less damage than Tedesco at this point, and if anything, Tedesco is much more likely to kill you in that situation, even with a man advantage. It's just not going to happen. Line has the Invis core, should have the ult away if necessary. There we are. Toast. Well, don't count it out.
Wow, Appletoast very aggressive, almost diving the Phoenix. Bit too over aggressive, you might say. Appletoast does end up falling, and Lina will make it out safely. We've seen the aggression out of Appletoast. We've praised the aggression out of Appletoast before, but that one might have been a bit too much.
I mean, I'd have been disappointed gone for that kill, because I'd expect nothing less, but yeah, in reality, you've got to be a little cautious there on your ultimate, but I'd expect nothing less. Still a little bit behind on Lina, and it would have been shut down as well. Again, Lina has proven that in terms of farming and efficiency in this jungle, clearly outclassing Appletoast in that regard, but sort of willing not to have as much impact in these sort of side lanes and in terms of ganks on these sort of later game jungle picks. So I'm kind of okay with it. Again, these are two contrasting styles. They both suit each other. I think, unfortunately for Mahakali, you'd perhaps argue that maybe they needed a... Certainly on the side of solo, I think, especially when you've got a Thor over there, you need a bit more, because I still I'm not happy with this Thor solo. You've got 30% CDR online, but you're not doing any damage. The build seems a little bit off for me. The pick's not doing anything. It's a big concern for me, and I don't really know how you make it relevant unless you get a 5-man dunk on the back line with some follow-up, because you're certainly not killing anyone on your own.
5-man dunk would definitely be good setup for the side of Mahakali. I'd love to see that. But I think you're right. It's Vidar's not having the same impact that he had on the Samukong in game 1, making it a little harder for Mahakali to fight in here. As we cross the 22-minute threshold, you can see that there's a little gold lead for Underscore, but not too much, not enough that you're really going to be feeling it quite enough in these team fights. Just 800 in the lead, and 22 minutes in kind of amounts to more or less nothing once you split that between all the 5 members. But look at these. It's just Mullig on the side of Mahakali that is up there on the net worth charts, keeping up with what Underscore is doing in this game.
Just imagine when you get that shutdown, if they get that shutdown, that's a lot of gold and XP going your. I have to say I'm starting to favour Mahakali now. I'm still concerned about this Thor pick, and rightfully so. When you have Mullog, if you allow Mullog on this Hatchiman to just free cast like they often have been doing, that's going to be way more impactful than what Tedesco can do 1v5. It's good what Shiva can do, but again, the longer this goes, I think the more it's going to favour this Hatchiman, this Loki, who I think is still doing lots of damage. If they're not wary of that, the backline is going to be very susceptible to this sort of dive that they have coming out. The Agni bombs are always going to be useful. So essentially, it feels like it's very evenly poised because you've got handicaps around the map, but you've also got a massive advantage coming out of that dual lane. Again, it's just so hard to call, and it's going to come down to, can someone get onto Mullog and stop him free casting? Because if that's the case, then suddenly these teamfights are going to be so much more successful for you.
Well, Lina forces out the home sweet home in the back as these teams start to duel around this Gold Fury. Damage going on, but Mullig getting chased out. Good Aegis to buy some space, but Apple Toast will get the shutdown over there. He pays for it with his life. Probably will feel worth it if you're the jungler from Underscore now. Tedesco trying to both chase it out and get out himself. Sanctified Field used. The blink from Tedesco to buy some space. Vidar here could get his first kill of the game. The wall lets him squeeze just enough through. The hammer not on the mark, and now Vidar's the one in a lot of trouble, trapped between everybody. And Tedesco not only makes it out, but gets a kill onto his opposing solo laner, which can't feel good. Vidar is just struggling to have an impact here in game 2.
You just can't get baited in by this Shiva so consistently now. Big Man Jesus is here, but zoning work done, and it should be pretty safe unless Panos can have something to say and gonna blink in and use the ultimate.
He will not get the Primal Fury, but he will get a kill onto Kino, so at least getting something for the side of Mahakali. Gridwind diff indeed working out in the favor of Panos there, excuse me, as the beacon has spawned again. So it's now the team's fighting over that. Home Sweet Home gets used, but Mullig has made his way back into this engagement, which means you always have to be careful about the damage that could come out from this Mahakali squad. But we do see Underscore take that third beacon, which means the Binds of Tartarus are no more, and the Titans are soon to be marching down that left lane. We could see some grouping over there on that side of the map to try and get some more of these structures, as Tedesco makes it out of what could have been dangerous as the Pyromancer are starting up here by Mahakali.
A bit of a damage check initially from Mullig on the Hatchie, and then from the Loki. Toast is going in here. There is a bit of support coming, but forces the ult. 2 ultimates actually, and Apple Toast has done quite good work there, I have to say. This fight now could be favouring Underscore.
Good work from the jungler of Underscore. Pyromancer yet to be taken. Neither side feeling quite confident enough to fully pull this objective. You heard the noise. That means the Titans are going to start marching down the lane right now. We'll have to see what these teams decide to do. Let the Titans fight it out on their own, or kind of send someone to split push. If nothing else, with that Titan, Pyromancer will be the call for underscore. Vidar's in the back line, uses the wall and the hammer to try and get in here. Pyromancer low, but underscore will be the one to confirm it. Lawbringer does quite a bit to Vidar, who's on the run now, but so is Tedisco. Panos quite in trouble, but home sweet home, not enough to keep Blakey alive. Suzuki will get the return kill onto Lina, as well as Appletoast getting the kill onto Big Man. Vidar lands in the back, but he's got low health bars as well. And here comes Appletoast, who gets a double kill on the Ratatosker. Ends up being a 3-for-1. Blakey sacrificing his life there for the Pyromancer, and 3 kills going the way of underscore.
And only thanks to Lina being able to get a good pick in the end. The ult was also fantastic. It was a well-placed assassinate to not only secure the kill, but also get a stun of Sasuke. Unfortunately, nothing in the way of anti-heal for Lina, and that meant that Sasuke was able to just about sustain through and get some big autos and a big kill onto Lina. Absolutely massive there. And again, that felt like you were kind of able to ignore Mollog for the most part. Too relevant in that fight. It was more about, well, hang on, we can just go on their backline here, and we don't have to worry about what we're doing. Vidar comes in quite late on. It just doesn't have the damage. I think Ascendance on Thor solo if you're going to make this work. But I'll stop being quite so critical of Vidar, because there's a lot of things going right for underscore, which I think is what's making it work for them. I think despite the fact they're able to kill the Baba is able to bait for a very long time and puts out a lot of damage. The Shiver is still a big problem. They still haven't quite figured out how they're going to lock down Tedesco consistently. And even if that's the case, you've still got an Oleron swinging away and Appletoast just doing Appletoast things in the back line, which again I'm loving to see, and I think it works really well for the way they want to play. They've now got a decent lead out of this, about 5k. Again, we're going to go to an FG dance. I don't think we've had an FG again this game. It's much the same as game number 1. Late on these objectives. This could be straight into an EFG, but there's massive damage coming from Lina, and Sasuke's been picked already.
Where did they go? This Loki, you wanted that one-shot potential when we were on the desk, and you got it. So much damage coming out of Lina will kickstart a good fight for Mahakali here. Vidar gets a wall in the backline, trying to get rid of some escape paths for underscore. But now, in a 5v4 advantage, Mahakali start to back up towards this FG, and they might look to try and burn this one down, if not just bait out another fight from underscore. Appletoast, though, trying to catch up Vidar in the side lane here. Does do a decent amount of damage, but Thor pretty mobile, and Lina is around as well. Fire Giant, though, all the while getting burned down around half HP. Lawbringer into the back goes Kino.
Oh, I don't
as well
like this.
as Tedisco going in, but it could be trouble. Just barely making it out is this Ratatosker, and Tedisco will get a kill onto Big Man. Vidar low as well, trying to make it out of here. Lina, though, not low at all and doing so much damage. Uses the Assassinate to get away from the home sweet home. A little bit more damage onto Mullig, and Blakey will get that kill. Meanwhile, it's trouble for this tier, but a good Fearless does so much, and Tedesco will get another kill on the Shiva. It is just Lina and Panos trying to make it out. The blink good, but it's right into an Oleron, and now it has ticked over to the enhanced Fire Giant, and it looks like underscore, off the back of a very clean team fight around this Fire Giant, should be able to get this EFG, assuming they can just make sure that Lina doesn't get in here for free. So they are trying to make this rotation slow on the burn, but at least they saw Lina, and they will get the EFG. Things going very well for underscore here.
Yeah, that would have been pretty unlucky if you get that colon by the Loki too. That would have been unbelievable. But yeah, that fight for Mahakali, it just felt like they were much too spread out. They were much too split. They didn't know what target they were on. I thought the Fire Giant call initially was risky as is. I think doing FG at the moment when you're essentially in a 4v5, a 5v5, it doesn't matter. If you don't have a big numbers advantage, you just lose. And actually, massive damage again. And this could open the door to a Phoenix with these picks, because Lina hasn't been able to make an impact on this backline, and now the door is open for this Phoenix. Big
Angle
dunk!
on lands in the middle though.
Doesn't matter.
Lots of damage onto Panos on this Kuzumba who tries to make it out. The Phoenix about half HP, but they need to burn it if they're gonna get it. Beads and Aegis forced out from the Ola run, but Appletoast will get one kill. Suzuki gets another one before Mullig turns around that kill onto the Ola run. Appletoast is hiding in the Titan room, trying to get more kills here, and will get a kill onto Vidar. The middle Phoenix falls, and it's just Lina on the defense. Seems like Underscore like their odds here, even with 2 tier 2 towers left up. As you said, Tanky Titan. Indeed, Lina doing everything they can to try and save this fight. But Appletoast will get that kill. Lina will get a kill post from the grave there onto Kino, but the Titan tanky enough to last for a little while, but should end up falling home sweet home to seal the deal. An Underscore will remain undefeated here in the middle of the division, but Mahakali did a good job of keeping up with the top seed here.
Absolutely, they put in a really good show. It was 2 even matches, I would say. There were times in both games where it felt like Mahakali had all the initiation. They had all the pressure, and that's because they were just playing well in multiple places across the map. I think in the end their comp was a little bit odd. It didn't quite work for me. I think we know what I didn't like from Mahakali, but on the flip side of it, Underscore played that really well. I like what they were able to do around the map. I think their objective play was excellent. They were all their objective calls around Gold Furies, around these the beacon in the mid lane, around the Fire Giants and Pyromancers. They were all top quality calls. I don't know if that was maybe Kino came in and perhaps was doing some more of that shot calling, because it was so much cleaner compared to game number 1. Everything they were doing was terrific to watch. But as I say, Mahakali put up a good show, but particularly Liner and Mullog, of course. I think BMJ clearly putting out a ton of damage, but in the end, I think just a little bit too far of a step for them to make. But they were certainly heading in the right direction.
Yeah, if in the future someone looks at this match and sees a 2-0 going the way of Underscore, I don't really feel like that tells the story of what we saw. There was quite a few moments where Mahakali seemed like they were the ones in the driver's seat. So they have that going forward. They can build upon, the momentum of doing so well against the top seed here and try and, push themselves further up on the, the tier list. My brain is dying at what this is called that we can see now. Leaderboard. Thank you, production, for telling me the word that I should know. Underscore moving up to 4-0 here in the middle of division. Mahakali dropping to 1-3, still in that 6th position, but with the potential to move further up because they looked very good against what seems to be an extremely strong Underscore squad.
Yeah, I think the difference is that I think Underscore haven't dropped a game by the look of that. I could be wrong, but Mahakali have been able to take some games, even in the sets that they've lost. So I think that kind of sums them up pretty well. They're heading in the right direction, and I think with a bit of work. You maybe don't always get that with this kind of format. It's quite, a short season. You don't always have the time to sort of gel with your new teammates. That's kind of the nature of a draft. But I think with a bit of work, Mahakali, they certainly don't look like the 6th place team. They look like they should be punching a little bit higher than they are at the moment. But again, Underscore are the team to beat. They look super strong again today, and I can see why they're top. I'll be interested to see if anyone can take them off their perch.
Yeah, should be exciting to see how the middle division plays out over the coming weeks. That's going to do it for us here today. Once again, I have been Dr. Shrew, joined by Zotz with Soul Slaw, on the production. Thanks so much for hanging out with us and watching the games. Make sure you stick around for tomorrow. We should have some more games heading your way in both the middle and lower divisions. You want to make sure you get to check those out and see it. But until then, we'll do it for us here on the GSL, and we will see you all in the next one.